you have come across the book of Samuel. Now, Samuel talks about the first kings of Israel, Saul and David. And you know the story of Saul, that he went to go see a witch, and the next day he had died in battle with the Philistines. And then David became the second king of Israel. Well, if you look on the screen above, when Saul had died, if you go to the next slide, the curse of Mount Gilboa. Now, what is the backstory about this particular mountain range? Because it is a mountain range. It said that when Saul and his sons, the following day after they had gone to see a witch, went to battle with the Philistines. And it said that the battle went sore for the Israelites, and they began to retreat. And as they retreated, Jonathan's sons were slain by the Philistines. And it said that Saul was fatally injured by, I believe it was an arrow from the Philistine camp. And so what you see here is a picture of modern day Mount Gilboa. So if you go to the next slide, what happened? Now, I know this is super small, but basically it said that Saul and his sons were killed, Jonathan and his two other sons. And it said that then Saul said unto his armor bearer, as he was retreating, of course, "Draw your sword and thrust me through therewith, lest these uncircumcised come and thrust me through and abuse me." But his armor bearer would not, because he was afraid. Therefore Saul took a sword and fell upon it. So Saul, upon Mount Gilboa, died. He committed suicide, basically. Is that the right thing to do? Absolutely not. God forbade it in Genesis 9:4. Now, what happened after Saul had died with his sons? If you go to the next slide, the next day, David got word of the death of Saul and his sons. And this is what David said when he had realized that they had died on Mount Gilboa. He pronounced to the mountains of Gilboa, he said, "All of you mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew, neither let there be rain upon you, nor fields of offerings. For the shield of the mighty is vilely cast away." So he had pronounced a curse on this mountain that nothing shall grow. Where do we see this? Also, we see this in the book of Joshua, of the city of Jericho, where whoever builds it, the first son shall die, and whoever finishes it, when it's finished, the last son shall die. We see that in the book of Kings. Well, if you go to the next slide, here is Mount Gilboa today. Now, I made all attempts to Photoshop these trees out, but it didn't work. I'm just kidding. Just want to make sure you guys are awake. Now, you're going to see all these trees upon Mount Gilboa today. And you're going to think, wait a second. I thought Mr. Kim said in the book of Samuel that David had pronounced a curse and there should be nothing growing on this mountain. Well, here's the backstory. If you go to the next slide, these are the trees upon Mount Gilboa. If we can throw up, okay. If you go back one slide, if you look on the mountain, there's something particular about these trees. As you notice, they're all the same color, green. There's some thick vegetation. It looks kind of nice up on that mountain. But if you go to the next slide, in 1958, forestation began upon Mount Gilboa. In other words, the Israeli government decided that they wanted to plant trees on Mount Gilboa. And what kind of trees are there? Well, they're pine trees, because they figure that pine trees, they're pretty resilient. They can grow anywhere. So what they did is that they brought soil upon Mount Gilboa and planted these pine trees in them. Now you may ask, well, what did Mount Gilboa look like before 1958? Well, It was dry as a bone. There was nothing there. And so since 1958, they continued to plant these trees. And it's a never-ending story. The question is why? Well, these trees continue till this very day to die constantly. So they're always planting new trees over and over and over again. What survives, they'll leave up there, hoping that maybe this species will continue to survive. But even till today, they're constantly planting new trees. Hence, the curse of Mount Gilboa spoken by David, king of Jerusalem. All right.